Hello, everybody on YouTube Live. Hopefully, we've got all the technical issues out of the way. Hence the reason I've got my big earphone cans on so that I can hear what's going on and you should be able to hear me nice and easily. I have my secret squirrel in the background, Ollie, who will come in at every moment, every now and then to get questions and get those sorted for you. But welcome to the brand new Fiat 500e. I've had this car for about 4 days now. I've not done much with it because of lockdown. I think I've driven it to Sainsbury's and I've driven it around the block. But hopefully we were going to give you a brief look round, brief walk round of the car, get inside with our trusty GoPro Handycam. But because of COVID, we don't have all the technical ability that we should be able to do. So if it's a little bit jittery, if it's on and off, please bear with us. But absolutely, we will get you able to see this fantastic car over the course of the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes. There will also be a chance to ask as many questions as you want. My phone is sat over on a table there, and Ollie is also going to be able to chime in every now and again to say hello. Ollie, are you able to say hello? I'm just remembering there might be a big, long 30-second delay until I can actually hear you if you're not in the Zoom meeting, which is absolutely fine. We'll make it work. Ollie will send us messages through my phone and we'll get all sorted for you today. So here is the brand new Fiat 500e. It's a up from the ground electric car, the first one from Fiat, really. The reason I say it's the first one, really, is because Fiat have been building the 500 as an electric car in California. They stopped building it in the mid 2010s, but really it was a compliance car, right? It was a car that was built because in California, to sell a certain vehicle, you had to build a certain number of electric vehicles. I have experienced that car once, and that was crossing into Malmo from Denmark and finding one that had been imported into Sweden. That car was basically a normal 500 with a little bit of fancy bodywork and some holes here and there to make it look a little bit different and a little bit clever. In my past, I have owned a Fiat 500 Abarth as well, and therefore I think I'm really at the point where I can really talk you through this car, even though I've not done that much driving in it. The first thing I want to really point out that's really impressed me about the Fiat 500e is that it feels like a 500. And I know that sounds really strange, but actually the thing that I love the most about this is that you get in it and it doesn't feel like a huge step away. It feels like a normal car. And I think that's really important. There's some really lovely little touches, which when we get into the interior with the GoPro, we will be able to run you through, which will be amazing. And also we're going to run you through some of the exterior changes as well. Right now I can see from my screen over there that I'm actually stood in front of the main one, which is the glorious new front end. They've shifted that door here just a little bit further back than they would in the traditional sort of 2007 Fiat 500. But let's first have a look at this front end. So you can see there's a whole new light structure and fascia to the car. There's a whole new look to an aerodynamic nature that comes around the side, and we'll show you that on the GoPro when we get the chance. You'll see this continuous chrome line that runs all the way through the bodywork, which just gives it that slightly 1950s, 1960s look of that traditional 500. Now, the 500 has been with us for a long time, and I think it's really important to see that those styling cues have been kept. From a side profile, it looks just like one of the older ones. And from the rear, it's got a little bit more of an aggressive rear end and probably a little bit more of an aggressive front end as well. But let's run you through some technical stuff before we get into what the car is like on the interior. So the car will come with two battery sizes, about a 24 kilowatt. I say about a 24 because it's 23.7, but about 24, and a 42 kilowatt hour battery. The higher battery will get on WLTP 199 miles. I don't know how they managed to miss out on that 200-mile mark, but we know that WLTP is a bit of a guess anyway when it comes to real driving. As I said, I've had the car for 5 days, 4 or 5 days. It's saying that there's 84% left and it can do 130 miles on that 84%. And I got the car with about 90 92% on there. And apart from going to Sainsbury's, collecting a cable for this, actually, there's not been much driving. However, I'm not charging it at my home right now. So because I'm not charging it at my home, it's been left to get cold. So when I've driven it, it has been heating itself. The battery sits all at the bottom of the car, and it is a front wheel drive. You can absolutely feel that when you get on the power coming out of a corner. You can feel that it is a front wheel drive car, very much like the Fiat 500s of old. The other thing that's really noticeable is that it's actually really nippy. It's really punchy and really quite quick. And it verges on keeping up with my Abarth, I think. It's an awful lot softer than my Abarth, though. My teeth could fall out in that car. Whereas in this, it's lovely and soft. Now, there's some other bits and bobs on the car that we need to show you. So at the back here, you have a Type 2 and a CCS, which we'll come to and show you as we go on. But it comes with up to 85 kilowatt charging as well. So it's something like an Ionity or an Osprey or something like that. You are able to get it charged up nice and quickly. So actually, Fiat say that you can get about 30 miles in about 5 minutes, which is actually quite impressive for something that you would normally take in the city or around about town. Would I take it a little bit longer distance? Maybe every now and again, just depending on how I was feeling. I don't think it's a long journey car every single day of the week, however. Now, we can move on a little bit. We can have a little look at the colour. So the colours that the car comes in are different shades of blue and a silver. This blue I really love in this light, but you probably can't see on the screen that there is actually a very small fleck of pink in there, which hopefully we'll try and get some photos of that to show you what that would look like. We also get a really beautiful dark blue, and I think I would have it in that. There's also some other models you can get. So you can get it as a drop top, as a soft top here. So from here, that roof will come all the way back into the boot for you, but it will continue to keep these strong lines over the top. You don't have a completely open rear end with worry about rollover or anything like that. Now, I think before I move on, I'm going to grab my phone, just make sure, see if there's any questions that have come through from anybody. Let me go in there and see if Ollie are all good. Looks like we're all okay at the moment. So Ollie, if you can just keep me up to date with what's going on, that would be fantastic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera around a little bit to the front of the car, let you have a look at that, and let you have a look at the new cool little features that the car has, rather than the boring technical stuff. So as we move the camera over, I'm just going to be really careful of this here. Just let's move this round a little bit. Oh, that's getting caught there. We're going to move that. So let's have a look at this front end, which, if we see here, is actually really quite aggressive and angular. A little bit different from your traditional 500. It's got a bigger chin, but the chin doesn't sit out in the same way. You also have this squared off grille at the bottom here. That's just to let air into the radiator, and then again some cooling ducts at the side. However, this whole front end is sculpted to allow better airflow over the car. I think those new lights look incredible. However, I don't know how you'll be able to, if anything ever goes wrong with these top lights, how you'll get it sorted. However, as we're a leasing business, of course, you don't have to worry about that, because you'll have the car for 2, 3, or 4 years and then just give the car back and you're all sorted. Another little nifty thing you can see here is that the indicators are out on stocks here on the side of the car. So I don't know if you can have a quick look at that. Maybe you can see that on the camera. I don't know if you can. What I'll do is I'll lock the car and unlock it again so you can see that. Oh, this is fantastic. Technical difficulties on our first day. Give me a second and let's get the hazards on for you instead. It's because I've been clever and left the car on. So we're going to turn that off and turn that there. We got those working now? Fantastic. There we go. So the car will not lock when I've got it turned off. So you've got the indicators down the bottom here in this circle LED, and then you also have them on these little stalks here at the side, just giving it a different look to tradition. Some of the older 500s sit them just up here as a traditional round button. These obviously look really cool. They probably deflect airflow one way and another, separating it here, allowing better transfer down the side of the car as well. I'm going to jump in, turn off those hazards so that we can get a better look at the car. What I'm going to do is, where are they? Just there. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to move the camera around so you can get a nice side profile of the car and see how it looks just like a traditional 500. So I know this is a little bit steady. I'm not the best Blue Peter presenter. Let's move that there. See if we can get that a little bit further back, actually. Let's pull our table back that's housing my laptop, letting us get on and sorted. So there is the side of the car. So very traditional, very 500 in its shape. Little things that I have noticed is I think that the side doors are a little bit longer, and I think the rear seats are a little bit closer than I would expect. So once we've opened this up, it's a 3-door. You just pull the handle here, in you get. If you want, I will move the camera and get in so you can see just how much space there is in that point there. Let's get that sorted so you can see here. There we go. So I'll jump in and let you see how big it is in the rear. So let's give that a shot there. Let's move that back. Would I want to go long distance in this in the back here? Probably not. Would I go with my friends to the cinema or to the shops when we can? Yeah, I think I'd be okay. However, yeah, my legs are pushing up against it. However, smaller people, children, should be okay in there as well. Something else which we'll come to when we grab the GoPro is that you'll be able to see the ISOFIX in there as well on all the seats, except the driver one for obvious reasons. So that's that. We'll take you around and have a look at the boot in a couple of seconds. I felt my phone go, so just want to double check that Ollie hasn't mentioned. Nope, we're all good. We're all fantastic. So let's take it around and have a little look at the boot here. I'm going to open that up. Now, something that I did notice that came very nicely is this beautiful 500 tote bag that keeps all your cables nice and secure. Very different to anything else in there. Now, for those eagle-eyed amongst you, yes, this is a European car. This is on Italian plates, so it does have a weird cable setup in the boot. I'm not going to show you that because it's not what you get in the UK in terms of cables. I mean, it's a European adapter with a 2-pin plug. Don't think that's what we should be encouraging you to do at home with your electric vehicle. In that, you'd work with our partner EO to get a lovely wall unit put on the side of your house, which would let you have that there. I'm just going to move the camera a little bit more just so we can get into the back there. I put the tote bag down on the cable though, which was a very clever thing for me to do. What I might do, just to let it happen, is I'm just going to move the car a little bit forward just so you can get that sorted. You'll also hear it start up and understand that European noise that we now have for the car to move. So luckily, the car's already all on. Hopefully you can still all hear me. That's the car turning off, and we'll turn it back on. And you hear what they phrase. Now, car is in drive, handbrake off. I'll put my seatbelt on because this is on YouTube. We're only going about 32 or 3 meters. Let's pull it forward a little bit. And there we go. As you can see, that rear end is just a little bit more angular. First thing that I thought of when I saw it was a little bit more Audi A1 rather than Fiat 500. They've got rid of the chrome here, which is quite interesting, but I think it's a really lovely rear end. I like the fact that they filled those lights back in, giving it a real light cluster rather than anything else. I'm going to pop that boot open just so you can have a check of it. We'll bring the camera a little bit closer to let you see what's going on there. So I'm just going to bring this in, and hopefully that will go a little bit further. Got a trusty assistant moving the table for us, which is all good. There we go. Fantastic. So if we have a look in here, I might just pop this off. Oh, is that going to come? Hold on a second. There we go. That should free that up a little bit for us. So hopefully you can see into the boot there. Nice and big. Not overly spacious, but also not the same size as something like the Honda E. This comes in at that same price point in terms of cash for the Honda E. So we're expecting lease prices to be fairly similar, which we should have momentarily. Whether or not we've got them right now or whether we'll get them to you through the week, just get in touch with us and we can find out. If you're watching this back at a later date, then absolutely we should be able to get you some pricing in there. What I will do is I'll grab that tote bag just so you can see just the sort of size that is. I'll make sure I don't trip up over any cables while we go, and let you see what we've got in there. So I'm just going to turn the camera a little bit just so you can see that size there. The cars that this car will obviously be compared to are the Honda E, the Renault Zoe, the Mini, and potentially the MX-30, the new Mazda, which should be quite interesting because that's a very different car for the same price point. You'll see down the bottom here, just a little camera that lets us do some reversing. Actually, I was quite impressed with it. A lot of Italian cameras can be pretty rubbish, but actually, this one was quite good. I always make the mistake of looking at myself on my screen rather than looking at you at home there. So I'll just make sure we get that, and we'll get that so you can see the car as well. Now, as I said, I think the cars that this goes up against is the new Renault Zoe, the Honda E, the new Mini Cooper electric, and the MX-30. What would I go for? That's a tricky question. I think the 500 is a brilliant all-rounder. The thing that I felt when I got in the Honda E was how incredible it was at being something new and something innovative. Whereas this feels much more of that traditional Fiat 500 ingredients that works really well with that added flair of being electric. And I think that's a really interesting position to be in because it's what works so well for a lot of people. And I could see this car doing really, really well because people don't feel like it's a step too far into the unknown. And in that respect, I think it will be fantastic. That bigger range, that 40 kilowatt hour, that 42 kilowatt hour battery that does that 200 miles there or thereabouts, I absolutely think will sell like hotcakes. It's a little bit more expensive than a normal Fiat 500, but once you factor in things like congestion charge or ULEZ. Now, congestion charge is very specific to London, totally get that. But ULEZ will be growing out within London, but also we know that many other cities within the UK are going to get a ULEZ as well. ULEZ stands for ultra low emission zone. So as time goes on, you'll see that will reduce, that will get bigger and bigger, and it will cost more and more and more to take your car into the city centre. And I think it's really important that we let you know about that. The other thing as well is on salary sacrifice. This car could be a fantastic car, especially for those who are in that 20% tax bracket. This could be the ticket just in there at a nice monthly figure to keep you going. I think because of that slightly larger range than the Mini or the Honda E, it just ticks a little bit more boxes in terms of feeling a little bit more secure for some people, and I think that could be really important for them. I'm just going to show you the charging port here, just so you do know that it is a CCS. Just like a lot of other manufacturers, they use a little bit of rubber just to cover it up in case it gets wet. But there you go, just in there. You should be able to see that nicely just here. Top part there is your Type 2, so your AC charging at home. You can get up to 11 kilowatts. How many people actually have 11 kilowatts at their house? Not that many at all. You'd probably be looking at closer to 7.4 when you're at your home. That's a charging rate of about 25 miles an hour. So for every hour that the car is on charge, you'll get 25 miles back in. Now, why do I say that charging rate rather than talking about it as 0 to 80? I think it's really important to point out that this car has either a 24 kilowatt hour battery or a 42 kilowatt hour battery. And to take the 24 kilowatt hour battery to 80% will take about half the time it takes the 42 kilowatt hour. So to then say that you can charge up to 80% in a certain amount of time doesn't make sense to me, because the amount of miles you get in the time that it's parked up and charging is the exact same. At the bottom there, on the two lower models, you would have 50 kilowatt charging at a DC charger, and with the higher models, you get 85 kilowatt hour charging. So you could use something like Ionity, Fastned, Osprey, and you can also use on Osprey the electric juice network would allow you to do just some clever stuff and allow you to keep all of that charging cost on your Octopus Energy account, rather than having 4 or 5 different cards that you have to take about the place. keep a wee eye out. More people will be joining that. More charging companies will be joining that as time goes on. We'll link that after we finish this video. We'll link that into the comments below. We'll link in electric juice, and we'll also link in over to the brochure of this car. Now, what I'm going to do is, I think it's time that we go in and have a look at the interior of the car. So I'm going to switch over to the handy cam. That'll take a couple of seconds. I'm just going to turn my video off, connect my GoPro, and then get us in so we can have a look at the interior of the car and have a quick look around there. While we're doing that, if you want to put any of the questions in the comment box, you are more than welcome. Ollie will fire them through to me, and we should be able to get them answered and sorted on our way before the end of the video. Thank you. Here we go, everybody. Just give me 2 more seconds while we try and get this GoPro working so we can get that sorted for us. Let's get that on here. Now, does that come up now? Let's see. Oh, it's being interesting, isn't it? Let's give that one more shot then. We'll unplug, plug back in. That'll load the GoPro. If we start recording, I wonder if I have to delete that video. Give me 2 seconds just while we do so. What I'm going to do is turn that off. So just while we get this sorted, any questions that you do have, please do put up on. We're good to go there. Delete that video. There we go. That should be deleted now. Just as it deletes, that should let us plug back in. Start video. Hopefully this does what we need it to do now. There we go, fantastic. So we've got the tripod in there as well, which is all good. Just checking that this is going to get stretchy enough and long enough. Yeah, we should be good. So lovely new handle here. No handle that sits proud of the door, actually. An electronic handle that sits inside there. So we can just put our hand in there and get all sorted. It's a nice aerodynamic feature. And in fact, some of my friends who've had 500s in the past have had issues with the handles that sit proud of the door. So it's good to see that Fiat have moved to this. It's also electric, so you just press a button and the door will open up for us. Inside, very, very traditional Fiat 500, just making sure that we can get that all in. It is a left-hand drive, so it is not quite the right way around, but for everybody should be okay. We're going to move this back here. Hopefully you can see. We'll just turn the car on, get my foot across, get it on here, and get that car on for us. Hopefully we can all see that there. Fantastic. Just look over my shoulder every now and again. Here is the internal bit of the car there. So you can see that there. The car has been heating up while we've been on air. So that's why you'll see that that range is a little bit decreased. But in there, you've also got your, basically like the old Tesla. So when you release the throttle, it will recharge in here, which is your regen. And as it accelerates, you've got in here as well. You've got 3 driving modes, which are all changed from down here on the E mode here, and that goes from normal to eco to sharper. It took me a wee bit of time to work out what sharper actually meant, but it's to help you reach your destination, which I think is really quite clever and quite cute and quite cool. In terms of simplicity, it's as simple probably as you can get. One thing that is a little bit strange is it does have a start-stop engine button, but we may or may not see that on the non-Italian press car. I wonder whether they've just stuck a British or an English button on there to allow it to be good for the British market or for the British press. Across here, you've got your climate control and nothing much else. Everything else on the vehicle is done through this here, and it works with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. One of the best bits I found was it works with Apple CarPlay wirelessly as well, so it lets you connect in there. You've also got your vehicle in here, which will give you a breakdown of other things. We can turn the screen off if you want for driving, but also we can launch the EV pages. We'll see if we can load that up for us. In here, we'll be able to set charging. We'll be able to see how much we want to charge up. It's telling us our minimum of estimated time and our maximum. We can also set schedules. So if you don't have a smart charger and you want to use something like Octopus Go to charge up, you can get that sorted in there. And power flow. What that does is while you're driving along, it will show you the battery going red and pushing power to the battery, to the motor, sorry. And when you release the throttle, it will send a blue signal back from the motor back into the battery, which is your regen happening as well. The other thing is that in the car, from the middle model up, you have autonomy level 2. So it's got some very clever stuff about lane keeping. It's got some very clever stuff about keeping the distance to the car in front and making sure that you're all safe and sorted there. It can be a little bit Italian and complain that when you're coming up to a filter that you're going to hit the car in front, but actually I was turning right and they were stopped at a red light. So okay, but everything else just seems really well thought of. Lovely little touches that I really love are things like the Made in Torino sticker here, which we can see here. I see Ollie's sending me some messages through, so hopefully those are some questions. And then also on the charging pad here, you've got the Skyline of Turin. That's a wireless charging pad, so you sit that down there and you're all good. Things that sort of I was fairly impressed with. Space down in here. You also have another cup holder here as well. Nice flat floor, and the depth in here is quite incredible, as you see down in there. This is the car with the fabric interior, so you can see, but still the embossed 500 logo, which is really quite lovely, and your traditional auto dimming rear view mirror and things like that. Nothing out of the ordinary for your Fiat 500. One thing that's a little bit new is that you have an electric door. So when you press that button, the door opens up and away you go. Also, in an emergency, the battery, the 12-volt battery runs out. You've also got this one here as well. What we could do is jump around the back here and have a quick look. You're going to see my setup all confusing as well. We're going to open up here. In here, you can see the boot again, and just take a note that both seats have these tethers in here for ISOFIX. So if you do have children, you are thinking about a city car, perfect for them as well. One thing that we can also do, which is another godsend, is we can fold these seats flat, but I don't want to do that because that front seat needs to move a little bit further forward for us to enable that right now. But something that does help me, I've managed to get my road bike in the back of my older 500. I don't see how this is any smaller than that. I don't have my 500 here anymore. My dad uses that. I have the Octopus Tesla out front. However, I'm sure you could take your front wheel off, and you could absolutely get a road bike in the back there. I've done it before. What I'll do now is I'll unplug the GoPro. We'll turn the camera off. We'll unplug the GoPro. Unless there's anything else that people have been asking to see, what I'm going to do is grab my phone and have a quick look. Nothing I can see there. Oh, fantastic. Some questions here. So we've got a question here. What's it like in performance and handling wise to the Abarth? What do you think of the infotainment system? And does the car turn itself on when you sit in the driver's seat? Brilliant questions. What I'm going to do is swap back to the camera so that you get me in and we can chat a little bit rather than having this GoPro looking thing where my mouth is not moving at the same speed as my ears here. So we'll get that set up. We're going to turn the video off. We'll get back to you in a couple of seconds. So thank you for bearing with us while we got that sorted. So a couple of really good questions there that we can see. So what's the performance and handling like compared to the Abarth? I'm just going to change this so I can see that you can actually see me rather than standing in a weird position. So what's the performance like compared to the Abarth? I would say in a straight line, it would give it a run for its money, especially as you don't have to worry about gear changing. So away from the lights, nothing else really will touch it apart from another electric car. I took my housemates to Sainsbury's. It's the first time one of them had been in an EV. They were a little bit shocked. I didn't tell them that I was going to accelerate and felt it. Where it doesn't stack up against the Abarth, but we're actually living in London, I wouldn't want it to be like the Abarth, is in the stiffness. You can actually see there's quite a lot of body roll in the car, but that's actually really nice. It's a little bit heavier, quite a bit heavier than the Abarth. And in that body roll, it does mean it's a little bit softer. So your teeth don't fall out when you go over speed bumps, and in corners it's just a little bit smoother. One thing that is a little bit strange is that at the end of the regen phase, the car seems to press on the brakes itself, but I think you'd very quickly get used to that. I think you'd understand that that was more about creating a feel of what's the word I'm looking for? I think that's more about creating a feel of being able to one pedal drive. And I think actually the car's so light and the motor's fairly small, but still develops a lot of power. It just uses the brakes just to make sure that you're all safe. The other question I think was around the infotainment system. It's been fantastic for me. It's not missed a beat. However, I did just connect my phone via Bluetooth and then went straight into Apple CarPlay, which is the same on just about a lot of vehicles now. I think a lot of people expect that sort of system in a car now. But the music sounded really great. I was able to get into my maps nice and easily. The only thing that always confuses me about Apple CarPlay is that you set your destination on the car, and then your watch starts tapping you to say where to go. But apart from that, I've been really quite impressed with it. Finally, that question about sitting in the car. No, you've got a key, and it does warn you, so it's really quite good. It doesn't just turn itself on and off. You do have to press that button that's just on the dash there, that if you scroll back in the video, you'll be able to see. However, when you get out the car, it will ping you to remind you to get turn it off. The other thing that it did, which blew my mind, like just little simple things like this I really, really love, is that when you turn the car off, if you leave your phone on the charging pad, it dings and it comes up on the dash to remind you to take your phone out of the charging pad, which I think is a really, really cool thing as well. I've just realized that I've put my phone down somewhere, meaning that I don't actually have my questions all sorted. So I'm just going to come back up to my laptop and have a quick look through here and see if there's anything else that I've missed. Fantastic. Well, I don't think there's anything there. If there is anything that anybody else wants to have a look at, Ollie will send me a quick little message. I have been very impressed with this car. I'm going to take it for a little bit of a longer drive today, just round the block, see what's going on. That would be where my phone is, in the boot, and see what it's like. Uh, and yeah, I think if you're thinking for a small city car, first electric car, something along those lines, I think this is a really, really good ticket. I think if you were looking at something like the Honda E is brilliant, but as a first EV, it's probably a big step into the unknown. As your second or third EV, it's probably quite good, but this, for your first EV, I mean, I spent 20 minutes on FaceTime with my mum. My mum has a 500 Cabriolet, so the soft top petrol car. She fell in love with it instantly. And I think actually from that standpoint, it could be really quite an interesting car in that segment. Looking at those people that already have 500s, it's going to go up against the Mini, of course. That's always the argument that everybody will ever have. Do you get an Abarth 500? Do you get a Mini John Cooper Works? Do you get a Mini 1? Do you get a Fiat 500 Lounge? I think now you're going to have, do you get a Fiat 500e or the Mini Electric one? Thank you ever so much for tuning in and joining us on YouTube. Please pop questions into the comments if you are looking for more information about charging, about understanding what salary sacrifice is. You can absolutely jump onto our workshops, which we'll also link into the bit below. Any questions you do have, pop into the comments, jump onto our Twitter, follow us there, let us know of anything that we could do, and let us know what other cars you'd like to see. We think that we should do this with our Tesla, and maybe also, if we can get a hold of an ID3, we'd love to let you see in that as well. Drop in the comments what cars you would like to see, what you'd like to learn from us as well, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. And yes, we'll be in touch. If you have signed up for the tickets on Eventbrite, we'll absolutely fire you the answers to the questions that we had. But also, if not, drop us a little comment with any questions you have if you're watching this not live, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you so much. Stay safe.